Start us off with an intro?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. So, welcome everybody to another edition of Mastermind Monday with New England Region, chapter of RRC. Thrilled to be here. You know, we've been doing this as a brainchild of Cheryl DiGirolamo, our immediate past president last year, and very proud to say that we're continued through the pandemic, at least the first 3 weeks of every month, with bringing you a different, amazing thing for your business and to grow our community and our family. So, as it is the third Monday of the month, today we are featuring our member spotlight, and so excited to say that we are featuring our own Chief Technology Officer, Christine McLellan, and Nora has agreed to do the interview today. I just cannot wait to get to know Christine a little bit better, and all of you in the region to know that you have an amazing resource here on the South Shore of Boston. Take it away, Nora.
Okay, I'm so excited. Christine, our CTO, Chief Technology Officer. Did you know that? You do know that you are a CTO.
I follow that every week.
Yeah,
So.
she changed my title at one point. I said,
Yeah.
sure, that's fine.
So that's great. So, and is somebody going to be in charge of admitting people, since I want Christine to focus on
Yep, I am. I'm doing
Okay,
it. Yep,
Awesome.
I got it.
So Christine, this is going to be kind of a little open-ended, and we talked a little bit before, just kind of getting stats. So these are not trick questions, as you know, but tell us a little bit, like, for example, how long have you been in the business and what agency are you with right now, brokering?
Hi, Nora, and sorry, it is a little loud at my house. There goes the commuter rail, which is one of the benefits of living in Braintree. And they're also doing some sort of construction in front of my house. So it'll all be good. So I've been a licensed realtor since January 2015, and I'm currently with William Ravis Real Estate out of the Hingham office. Been there a little over 3 years now. And I'm there because my primary service area is really the South Shore. I say, I think Boston to Cape Cod, kind of that, that section. And the primary towns I list in are Braintree, Weymouth, Randolph for the most part. Towns around there, Quincy, definitely a couple every year. Occasionally Holbrook, occasionally Hingham, but really that's my focus, unless it's a previous client or personal referral that I go out of those ranges to list.
So you've been doing this for 6 years. So what did you do BRE before real estate?
Before real estate, I worked, and one of the reasons I live in Braintree, I worked for tech in the tech sector for 30 years. So I worked for Lotus, IBM, Novell, a bunch of startups, bunch that went out of business. And the last startup I worked for was acquired by Google. So I worked for Google for 3 years prior to saying I'm exhausted, and took the opportunity to leave and became a real estate agent on a whim. So I don't recommend doing that. It's worked out, but it was definitely kind of a whim for me. I actually took the class through a Groupon, which I don't suggest. I have to tell people, I'm like, hey, look how cheap this is. Got my license. A friend who encouraged me to get my license recruited me into the brokerage he worked for in Randolph, and said he'd train me, and which he did a great job. But after like 2 months, I'm like, what am I doing? This is insane. I know nothing. It was also the winter of 2015, so there was 17 feet of snow on the ground, which certainly made it hard to see homes. So I did stuff online and created a website and all that other back in my comfort zone. But that's what started me on the education journey. I started on my GRI in April. So I started in January. April of 2015, I started on GRI because I needed to know more than what comes out of a 40-hour licensing class with a Groupon.
So, all right. How long have you been in Braintree? So so you've landed in Braintree. So how long have you been in Braintree area?
I have lived in Braintree. I bought my house in 1994. It was not supposed to be my forever home, but it is now. Went through several renovations, but I lived in Braintree and grew up on the South Shore. So this was sort of a Braintree to Cambridge commute. And I bought in Braintree because of access to the highway and access to Cambridge for all that time.
With all your technology background, so I want to talk about Braintree in a second, but since we're talking about technology and your background, I'm intrigued. I remember Lotus 123. You just brought me back to the 80s.
I was the product manager for that product at one time.
Okay, that's amazing. So what are your chief technology tools that you use, because you'd be a perfect person to answer, because we're always like all the Kool-Aid, all of the shiny object syndrome. I know I'm prone to that. So you'd be
And
the
that's
probably perfect person to, or at
and
least
there's Lisa. And that's an excellent question. So truth be told, when I get stressed out and have to figure something out, I use a spreadsheet. So I use them all, but most of my day-to-day stuff is done in Google Docs. So Sheets, Docs. I use PowerPoint for any presentations, but I'll use Sheets. If I have to figure something out, do some math, whatever, I start a spreadsheet. I got thousands of them. In terms of tools to manage my business, because it was 2015 when I started, I had my first, I'm a big believer in the personal agent website and not relying on the brokerage site. So my first website was with Playster. I had a great deal with them at the time. It was this awesome grandfathered program, and I had it for a long time. And they were great. They're based in Boston. They did a lot of stuff for me. And I eventually outgrew them. I wanted to do more than I could do in sort of the template stuff. So a year ago, March, I moved to Squarespace as my primary website, moved my domain. I've always had a personal one, ChristineMcLellan.com. I'm like, it's important to me. I'm able to blog more there than I could on Playster. So, and I'm a big believer in that. Like, I think that's, for me and my brand, a really important place for people to find me. It also becomes very easy to share things on Facebook, Instagram, and Google My Business. If you're not using your Google My Business page, you are, feel free to reach out to me, because that's something every one of us as an individual agents should be managing our Google page, because I think it's from the NAR profile of home buyer and seller, something like 87% of all real estate searches begin on Google. Don't quote me on the quote. I'm trying to going from memory.
Let's talk about that for a second, because
Yeah, I was gonna ask, can you dig in? Yeah. Can you dig in a little more? Like, tell us if we haven't done that, tell us what the steps are. You know, sorry to
Can you
jump
do
in.
that? I mean, thank you, Lisa. And we didn't even pre-plan this. I said I want stats, but we'll get to the stats later. I'm interested in Google My Business and how to do that, because I have not done that.
It's probably something we'd want to set up. But what the first thing you want to do is on your computer, open an incognito browser. I forget what it's in private browsing, I think in Safari and Explorer. And then I've actually done a couple of trainings on it. So I'm happy to schedule this another time on setting it up and making it effective for you. Every one of us should have one. And then search for your name in an incognito window if using Chrome, Safari. I think it's in private, something like that. And search for your name, what comes up. And if you search for my name, what should come up? First, you spell my name right. I haven't checked. I should be the first few ranked, but I'm not always. Sometimes other people fall in, Christine McLellan. But over on the right panel, just like if you search for a restaurant or a business, you see Christine McLellan, realtor or something at William Ravis Real Estate. That's the Google My Business presence on the web. And what you do is, and the way it looks on mobile is even better, because that's the first thing that comes up. You know, when you search for a restaurant, you get menu, website, and all that. It's called a Google Knowledge Panel. And the reason Google does this, and it's all free, don't pay anyone. You can pay me, but no, I'm kidding. I am kidding. But what's really cool about it is the reason Google allows us to do this, all of us, all small businesses, is that's one of the hardest nuts to crack in search, is the local business, because they turn over a lot. They don't do inside sales. And it is, I forget what percentage of searches are local. I have all those numbers, but but the percentage of searches on Google that have a local intent. So you want to be that person. You want to make, and my reason for focusing on my personal website, personal agent website, and my Google My Business page is, if they search for me, I want them to find me. This is not about finding real estate in Braintree. This is not about finding a listing agent. This is about searching for Christine McLellan. They're going to get my phone number. They're going to see my website. They're going to see I'm real. This was really important when I was brand new. And one of the decisions I made when I migrated my website to Squarespace is I decided as an individual agent, I did not need the search technology, IDX. No one's using an agent's website to find a house. They're going to use Redfin. They're going to use realtor.com if we're lucky. They're going to use Zillow. They might use a brand like ravis.com, but they're not going to use christinemclellan.com to find a list. So I pulled that out of my requirements.
Right, because the IDX, for those that don't know, is a separate thing that you have to pay for. I think, forgive me, probably $40 a month or something like that, I think.
Playster was very cheap at the time, but it's a plugin. Yeah, so basically a plugin if you, oops, sorry, I thought I turned that off. But it would give you that, to search for properties. I think at one time, like 2015, it was important to me because I wanted people to know I was a real agent. But now I don't need that. And I don't think we really do. Featuring my properties, allowing people to get to search for properties. But we know most people are using their phones and they're using a high-end third-party site to find property. They're not going to use something that I'm paying $40 a month if it's that poor.
Quick question. When you say Squarespace, isn't that also where, like, I know Squarespace, I think of where you can use your credit card too?
Yeah,
or is that
that's Square.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
A little thing you plug into the phone.
Right. Okay, that's called
That's
Square.
called Square. Squarespace is it's a pretty powerful website template tool. A little more advanced than even I needed, but if someone's going to go down the Squarespace path, they may want to find someone to initially set it up for them. But after that, you can do it yourself. It's like Wix is less complicated. Weebly.
The platform
I forget all the others. Again, I chose specifically not to use a real estate centric website when I changed my personal website because I decided I didn't need the search for properties functionality. I didn't need that. What I wanted to do is be able to get create any pages I want, whenever I want, however I want, change the menus, full customizability, and most importantly, to add a page really quickly.
Okay.
That was my primary, and beautiful on mobile.
Okay, I can't wait to look it up. I'm going to look this up.
There's a lot to it. A lot of it's a very visual website design. A lot of artists use it. A lot of internet brands, not like Amazon, but like Instagram personalities, or it's that kind of a lot of that to it. But you can do a lot with it.
Okay, good to know, because I am exploring Kajabi base, but then I have Agent Image. I don't know if anybody else.
You have what?
Agent Image.
Those are pretty.
Also, but there's so many that are coming at us all the time, right? Again, shiny object.
Yeah, I think Agent Image is a really pretty website. People that use Agent Image, it's way out of, it's out of my price. Like, so all in Squarespace is like $230 a year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'm price sensitive, and like
that's very good
Agent Image and Agent Elite and a few of the others are a lot more. The good ones are a lot more.
Excellent. Good to know. And then finally, before we go off onto Braintree and other things that I wanted to ask, you mentioned about Google. So I'm sure that if I have this challenge, I think a lot of other people have the challenge too. Google Drive, as you know, even in our board, it's like, oh, Google Drive and all that. What do you recommend to really to go into it? Because, if we have different emails, since you're the CTO, do you have any tips? I mean, in Google Sheets, does that replace Google, like Excel? Any other things that you use? So that's great about Squarespace and any other, database management.
I mean, the reason I use Google Drive is, and everything I do is cloud-based, right? I want to be able, I have multiple computers that I use because I'm a nerd. I have a desktop, I have a laptop, I have a tablet and a phone. That's just stuff I use daily at my house. And then if I want to log in at my office, at my brokerage, I want to be able to get to everything. So I'm a little scattered, more scattered than I should be, but I've got what I am currently using for all file storage, meaning client documents, photos. I'm actually using Microsoft OneDrive. So I have a Microsoft license for full Office, and I use that because I get because those are static files and that's available everywhere. Also, my brokerage is pretty Microsoft centric, so I ended up licensing that. So I have full office, but for me, creating a small, fast spreadsheet, it is faster for me to use Google Sheets or a Google Doc for a little, just something I'm writing. And the reason why is I have a browser open, I open it, I go, I type, and it's always saved in the cloud that I can get to for everywhere. To me, that's what's important. So all of my CMA prep, when I'm doing research on a property, that tends to live in a Google Drive folder because it's very dynamic while it's happening. But then when I work with the listing documentation and comparing offers and things that are more PDF centric, I tend to put on OneDrive, and then I can move them quickly into my brokerage. So kind of that. I know it's a scattered answer, but for me, it's really Google Drive is one of my comfort zones for that.
And do you have different drives for different emails? Is that basically how it works? Every email has a different drive, or you can put
No.
everything in one? and
Everything
merge
is
them all together?
everything is logged in. Is a good question, because I actually currently have Google Workspace through Squarespace, but I'm not going to, or Suite or whatever it is. I'm not going to keep that. Everything is logged in through my Gmail on Google, but I can access it everywhere. And I don't share anything on my Google Drive is not shared with agents or my office. Right? That's kind of my side of things. But the things I need to share with my admin, my office admin transaction coordinator are either in SkySlope if it's a transaction, which is part of my brokerage's tools, or it's in OneDrive that I can share.
Okay.
Like I kind of keep stuff separate, like my creative stuff, it's going to be in Google Drive, no matter what it is.
And then what do you use for e-signatures, or do you use e-signatures? I'm sure you
I
do.
use whatever I can get. I'm using DigiSign through SkySlope mostly because it's more mobile friendly than ZipForm seems to be. I'm not paying for whatever it is. I'm not paying for the full ESign, whatever it is. I use whatever my brokerage makes available to me for that. It's a good question because I'm like, what am I using this week? But I found the best. Yeah, DocuSign. Thank you, Brenda. Is I'm not paying for DocuSign because that's a separate license, and it was for what I do. It's the volume's just not. I'm cheap. I'll pay for the right things. But
you have that background, which is really.
Well, I'll lose 6 days of work figuring out the cheapest and best solution. So I could license it for less. In my first year too, I licensed it. First couple of years, I licensed a ton of stuff. Different CMA tools, different CRMs, different everything, and spent way too much money and have really focused that. So the only things I pay for now on my website, and I pay for my CRM, and I use Buffini Referral Maker for that because I've been comfortable. And then for CMAs, I've tried them all, and I've gone back to Cloud CMA.
Okay, good to know. That I was just going to talk about.
I'm trying to think, what am I paying for? So I'm like, cheap, obviously cheap. I'm paying for less and less.
But good. You're, having those benefits that are offered to us as agents and whatnot. Use the tools that are right there in front of us.
Yeah.
All right. So you mentioned Buffini. So we hadn't even talked about this, and we'll get into Braintree. I mean, this is great though. How long have you been with Brian Buffini? Has that helped your business as somebody that's been in the business 6 years and had basically a sphere of influence, all the way up to then? And how has that helped you?
So I am not in their coaching program. So I've done a couple of his courses. I did Peak Producers back when that was a thing. And then I think it's Pathway to Greatness, the Essentials, the first one. So I've done that. I do follow him. I think he's, also through my brokerage, we had access to Tom Ferry for a while. Just sort of the two biggies. I really like Buffini's kind of philosophy in life because it's so caring. And I love his, I think his podcasts are awesome, the people he gets. So I'm a big fan. I use Referral Maker because it's good enough for what I need. It's not over the top. I did say top producer for a year. My brokerage uses Moxie Works. I tried that for a while and it just didn't do what I needed. I want to be able to go in, get a phone number, put in a note and send them stuff. Like, this is and I want it fast. Like, that's kind of for me what it came down to. And so I use Referral Maker with the mailers, but not full coaching. I always dabble with the idea, then I cheap out, and I probably should use their coaching.
No, it's all good. So, all right, I'm going to ask, so a couple questions about Braintree. You said you've been in that area that you grew up in that area. So that's phenomenal. So when you started, did you start with the team? You said you mentioned somebody who recruited you, or have you, and then how are you marketing? Because also not just marketing yourself, but then really we all as agents really are marketing the towns that we serve, right?
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about how, the 6 years have evolved for you, whether if you've always been on your own, or how were you doing open houses back when we were doing open houses a lot, and just a little bit about Braintree too.
That's an excellent question. So I joined a small independent brokerage in Randolph when I started. I didn't know what teams were. So remember, I did this on a whim, right? So I had no idea. Groupon, don't do it. Do your research. But anyways, I'm a good tester. That's all I can say. But it was a small, we had less than a dozen people at the brokerage. So it was very small and very Randolph focused, which was a great learning ground for me, because he had been the broker in town for 40 plus years. His dad been in the building business, all that, the broker himself. So we had a ton of walk-in business. We had phone calls, we had internet leads, and most of it was listings. So without a plan, I started really very much as a list agent. So I was lucky, didn't know. And have continued as a list agent. So I was on my own with help we were a pretty supportive group of people, but on my own. And then when I moved to Ravis, also on my own, and stayed on my own. The reason I moved is I knew I needed a bigger sort of footprint. I'd have listings in other towns, and I'd get these, why is a Randolph agent listing here? And I'm like, are you kidding me? But I did a lot of research and looked and said, the small town brokerage is eventually going away, right? Those people are moving and dying, I hate to say, which means we get to list, but I needed a bigger footprint. I needed a brand that gave me agnostic to the area, and stayed alone. I ran the numbers. I was doing enough business in transactions to think about hiring a transaction coordinator, but the math didn't work. Like the dollars didn't work. So I'm still by myself, and have learned more, become more efficient. But I think, at some point I would love to have a buyer, and I'm always recruiting folks to help cover my open houses. I'm happy to help and refer people, but I'm still a solo agent. I think I'm probably going to stay one at this point.
Okay, so let me ask you some questions about Braintree. So I will say there's still a need for the smaller brokerage in town. So independents are also very good.
But I'm okay with the independents. It was just sort of I was very pigeonholed.
Micro. Yeah. So, it's hyper local or hyper local.
Yeah.
But so Braintree, tell me a little bit about Braintree and like, for example, population, the market, how was last year? And I think I'd asked you just to kind of look up some stats, which I knew already, for single families and things like that. So I'm just always curious, different towns and.
Yeah, it's been crazy. So Braintree's continued to grow, which definitely impacts us in traffic because of its accessibility to everything. So it's about, the 2019 census had it at 37,000 people, and it's still small town, but we have a mayor. So you figure out what that means. We still have town meeting, but we still also have a city council and a mayor. So I don't really quite know what that means. In terms of properties on the market this morning, there were 22 single family homes, which is up. We were in the spring, we were between 7 and 10. It was horrible. Early spring was very, for that many people, it was just really tough. And so if I look at April's numbers, in last year, April's inventory last year, we had 30 homes for sale. April this year was 17. So it's about half. We've been running about half, which is consistent with everybody. And, because the prices run really from a tear down at 350 up to $1 million, and the average home price is about actually it's up to 670. The median price is 670, which is crazy.
Is that a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, or what's the 670?
670, yeah, probably a 3 to 4 bedroom in good condition. Actually over 700. If you're talking about 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, you're probably in the sevens about now, or low sevens. You know, about 1,500 to 2,000 square feet. Very typical. Lots in Braintree are small, so you're not really looking at that. But the town itself is, and it's gone up crazy. So it's over 100,000 in a year in median sale price.
Okay, and then what is the surrounding area? So I know, isn't there the Braintree Mall there? So
yes,
then
we
you
have the social plaza.
And then, so what else do you have around there that
Around.
Exactly.
For business or?
Businesses or for other towns that you surround, so that.
So one of the advantages of Braintree is the tax rate's phenomenal. For residential, it's about $9.95. So it's under $10 a thousand. It's a couple of other towns around here who also maintain low tax rates. That includes Weymouth, Canton, Braintree, and Milton, all have very low tax rates. Milton prices are higher, so the taxes are higher. But when you think about those towns, we're in the $9 to $11 per thousand, which is great. There are other towns that are definitely higher, but the reason Braintree's is low is because of how much industry and commerce we have here. Yes, we have the plaza. There's a lot of businesses. There's a lot of light industry and sometimes heavy industry. And it keeps the residential rates low, is the access to the highway, commuter rail. We even have we have freight trains that go through. It has all that. It doesn't have all that sexiness of Hingham where you just want to drive around and look at houses. It's a very suburban home, bedroom community of Boston, and it always has been.
Great. Any other things that we should know? Lisa, do you have any questions? Anybody from the audience have any questions for Christine as we wrap it up? Let's see. I'm going to check the chat here.
Looks like.
Good.
Oh yeah, can you tell us, Gerald said, can you tell us about the YouTube, how you created a page and post videos for us, how we could use it to market ourselves and our clients' listings?
Okay, thanks, Lisa. So I am not using YouTube for listings. What I did when I said, hey, we can post, when I said to Cheryl last year, hey, we can post these on YouTube, selfishly it was going to be my reason to learn how to post videos on YouTube, because this is how I work. But it worked. So, and just like anything, if you do it once, it's really hard. But if you do it every week, it's much faster. You just get much more used to it. So it's really helped me be able to do that. I do post videos. I'll put them on social media. I'll upload them. Mostly on social media. I'm doing little videos. I'm not into the whole video production. Building an audience, a real estate audience on YouTube is a significant endeavor. And I'm not there. Like, it's just a commitment, and I follow the people that are, and it's really cool, and they're doing a great job. And I'm just not that. I'll blog, I'll write. I'm an introvert. Just let me go write, and I'll put it out there with some mini videos or whatever. And I think just posting like the slideshow of properties isn't that compelling on YouTube. You're not going to get the views, and as it is, even with the process of what we're doing here for our NERRC, it's like, we're posting, we're getting them there. There is what they call evergreen content. In other words, they're forever that we can reuse and repost, which is a really good thing. But we're not getting a ton of followers yet. And it takes years, and it takes time, and it takes what they call search engine optimization, whether it's on Google or whether it's on YouTube. There's a lot there. And you have to reach so many followers and so many views before you get to start getting promoted. So maybe in 5 years, New England RRC will be really big on YouTube, but not for a while. And I kind of look at it that way for what we're doing, what I do on my website. That's why my personal agent website's where I spend my time building, because it takes longevity online. It takes a ton of longevity online. And I also want to make sure everything, and that's why I'll put the plug in again for your Google My Business page, and we can set something up at another time for anyone who wants to sit down and go through it with me. But it's stuff that's not behind a social media firewall.
Yeah,
Like
I'm going incognito, like I never even knew that you could do that.
oh,
what
it's
that means.
fun. Incognito's
It
fun.
means not on the internet, right? I go incognito to the grocery store, but not on the internet. So, but maybe we can set up, this is actually a fun thing to think about, set up, just an impromptu class in the next couple of weeks about
that
that.
would be great idea. This was so great. Thank you so much, Christine. I want to say your check's in the mail because we actually have a guy named Brad McLellan who I guess is kind of like a big deal. He does video and really then of course puts that on YouTube. That's what he's done. And you're right, it does take a lot of focus, and he has a videographer, but interestingly, he's just a guy in a pickup truck in Canada, and I say that, but he started to do the most amazing quality videos, and the way he was posting them on YouTube, and he's now turned into a huge luxury agent because everybody is like, I want my house to look like that. I'd met him through a couple of things, actually Clubhouse, and then he's been on our room on Thursday mornings, and he's going to come to us June 14th, I think it is, for Mastermind Monday. So we'll get a little bit more YouTube-y video stuff for that. But Christine, this has been fascinating. I'm so excited because obviously we've been together with you for many years, and there was so much about your life, BRE, that I did not know about. You're just amazing, and I love the way that you really peel the onion, and you've given us so many nuggets this morning. Thank you so much. It's just been a real pleasure. And thank you, Nora, for taking on the interview. And thanks everybody for being here. Lovely to see you all. Yeah, please do.
Here, so we're all in different things, but Kurt is like right underneath me here. Congratulations, Kurt.
Yes.
Congratulations, thank you, Kurt. Congrats.
Woo, woo, woo.
A pleasure to be of service to you, and thank you for your support. I appreciate it. And thank you for all you're doing with these Monday meetings. I look forward to these every single week. And thank you, Christine, for sharing that with us. That information was really good.
Thank you so much.
Everybody have a terrific week. Thank you, Christine. And
thank you.
Thank you everyone for being here. And thank you for people that are watching us on replay and on YouTube.
Yeah, and we'll see you again the first Monday of the month. I think we're off the next two.
Yeah, there'll be a replay if you want, and then Memorial Day, and then June 1st is our next one.
And I'm working on a good one.
Cool. Thanks, everybody. All right, take care.
Bye.
Have a great week.
Later.